Hello and welcome to Cybos 2025 in Frankfurt. I'm Hannah Wallace, and joining us from the FinextraTV studio is Cyril Cymbler from Databricks. Cyril, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Hannah, for welcoming me.
It's great to have you in the studio, stepping away from a very busy Cybos behind us, and we're talking about some really interesting topics, including the acceleration of growth through unified data and artificial intelligence. But before we do dive into that, I want to get a lay of the land around governance, the changing regulatory landscape. Could you bring us up to date?
Yeah, sure. Especially here, we are in Frankfurt, where this is the headquarters of the European Central Bank here. So it is probably the right place to talk about governance. We are in a very heavy regulated environment here. And we know that basically a lot of financial institutions are fined every year because the rules are getting stricter and harder to respect. So the most important, in my opinion, here, before talking about AI, especially in the frame of, at the light of the regulation, is to talk about the quality of the data. Data is key, because if there will be garbage in, there will be garbage out. So the most important topic for me is the right governance of data. Not only governing, I would say, your data, but also your metadata, your machine learning models, your scores, also to have the possibility to control all the access to whom you are going to delegate some actions, and to be able to provide the full traceability with the right lineage of the data to the regulatory authorities if some days some control occur. I do think that this is extremely important. This is probably one of the biggest area of investment these days for a lot of financial institutions across Europe. And again, lineage, access control, and governing of the data, metadata, and machine learning model are, in my opinion, the key to build a solid foundation to, after that, use the best of the breed of Agentic AI.
All right, some good advice to start with, and that's what should be front of mind. So taking that into account then, and talking about the accelerated growth that we're seeing as a result of unified data and AI, as you've touched on, could you share some real life examples where we're seeing an actual impact, especially in Europe?
Yeah, we have a lot of examples to share. So what does it mean basically using AI for growth? I'm not going to talk about Gen AI. Gen AI for me was yesterday. Today it's Agentic AI. Tomorrow is an agent supervisor who is basically going to govern other agents powered by AI. And this is where we are now. And this is what the financial institutions today are aiming. What is super important is also to have in mind, and that's why it was super interesting to start with the quality of the data, because you know that today you have 90% of the project in the financial institutions who start with AI and who don't go into production because of some of the issues that they meet. So the most important is to find and to define the right expectations and of what you want to do with your agents. So real life example. We have today, for example, some agents who are managing other agents in order to provide real-time scoring, to provide, for example, an increase of a credit limit of a customer who is doing his request directly from his mobile phone. It's not a rule-based management type of scoring that used to be live before. It's super sophisticated because the level of accuracy is much higher. The data governed, of course, is bringing skin to the game. And what it is great is you can have you have an agent who can have multiple API calls from a lot of credit bureau or from a lot of basically external data provider that combine with another agent who is taking internal data to basically try to find the best scoring possible in terms of risk assessment and the propensity of the customer to buy this product in cross-selling with an increase of his credit limit, for example, is really what we can see today. So it's super important. So we've worked a lot as well with payment providers. So for example, with MasterCard, where basically we can work a lot on how an agent can basically work better in fraud detection, in all these kind of elements, Buy now, pay later as well type of use cases is something that in the payment industry we see rising a lot. And I would say that if I want to basically try to find what are I would say, the common patterns if you want to be successful in that, I would say 3. Number 1 is you need first to define how you can get extra revenue from a specific use case, to be very clear in assessing the business value. Number 2, how you can better anticipate the loss due to, I would say, an inaccurate risk management. And this is super important to adapt. Number 3 is how you can basically work in being sure that you can get a very streamlined business process in order to be super lean in terms of providing, I would say, the right process to the right journey. And this is basically the 3 things that we observe today in the market.
Fascinating. And what you've done very well to highlight is how it has been used towards ensuring smarter, more seamless customer experience. They're the ones who are really being rewarded. But how do you balance that with the need to stay ahead of security threats and cyber attacks? What is that balance between the customer experience and security?
My answer here will be as well developed on 3 points. Number 1 is, again and again, you know, my dad was a professor at university. He always told me that education is rate of repetition. So I will repeat me again on the governance side. I think the most important is to have the right data foundation. Because with the right data, with the accurate level of governance of your data, again, if you have, you will be able to, I would say, take the best of the models you can create in order to adapt it basically to faster business or to better protect your company. So if it's garbage in, there will be garbage out. So again, the most important is the right level of governance. And if you can as well emphasize the fact that I would say the lineage is something which is key. Who had access to the data? Who was the last one basically to has updated this table? You know, in the past, and this is interesting, is you need to be faster to provide this kind of information. I will try to be more clear. Back in the days, and I'm not talking about something 10 years ago, I'm talking about something 2 years ago, how it was working in the bank. You are a chief risk officer, I'm a credit analyst, and you are asking me, Cyril, I need you to provide me, I don't know, the breakdown of the mortgage by segment, by non-performing loans in my regions, number 1, number 2, number 3. How it used to happen, basically. So as a credit analyst, I go to see the data scientist, I go to see the data analyst, and I ask to these gentlemen, to the ladies and gentlemen, please, I need this dashboard for my chief risk officer for yesterday. And you had as well now people working in writing pages of SQL, of Pythons, that no one would be able to control. And after that, once it was done, it was extracted in some file and was converted by the data scientist into a dashboard where the business analyst was able to provide it back to me in order to give that to the chief risk officer. It could take weeks.
Yes.
And it was complicated. So now, how it works? For risk and to balance, to come back to your question, the most important is now everyone should talk into natural language to his own data. And that is, in my opinion, what makes the difference. I'm the credit analyst, and I can ask to my AI, can you provide me this dashboard with this variable and these patterns? And in a minute, my agent is providing me these kind of elements, and I can even have someone who can control it. So the business process is much leaner, and the time to insight has been shrinked from weeks to minutes. That's make the difference, and in my opinion, this is the new role of the bankers of today, especially in your in a headquarters, working and trying to provide some insights and decisioning elements.
So it's interesting. What I'm hearing is that there is a real recipe for success and to thrive in this new era of AI. Take us through that recipe. So we've got collaboration, we've got intentionality, agility, data. What advice would you end on, Cyril?
3 advice. Number 1, again, well-governed data. Second, you need to have a very strong data management program where everyone knows what he has to do. So some are collecting the data, some are controlling the data, some are controlling the access, some are in charge of the lineage, some are in charge of orchestrating everything, and what are the golden source, what are the silver source, the golden data, etc. This is a strong and robust data management culture is the requirement number 1 if you want to be successful. Number 2, you need to set the expectation at the beginning. What do you want to achieve with AI? Is it something related to grow the business, better protect your institutions, or be more cost efficient?
You need a strategy.
You need to have something structured. If it's not the case, you will go everywhere. You need to define what are the KPIs, what are the OKR you want to achieve. This is the number 2 advice that I could give. And this is all the successful customers we are working with. I'm referring very often to MasterCard because it's the amazing stories that we have with them. So basically, they have very strong and structured approach to these specific use cases. And the number 3 is how you are going to scale it. Doing a use case is interesting, but if you cannot scale the use case, it will remain very limited in terms of impact. So basically, these are the 3 advice that I could provide to someone and to institutions who want basically to work with AI.
Cyril, some fantastic advice to end on. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I look forward to reflecting on them further down the line, but for now, I'll let you get back out there and share them with the rest of the delegates. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. It was a pleasure.